Hello guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of Haunted Gaming. This time we do an Animal Crossing creepypasta called Anna, the Haunted Animal Crossing cartridge. Now before I start, as I read this creepypasta, it's actually written in this journal format where it takes over the course of several days, so I'm going to have little cuts in between each day to signify which day I'm talking about. So with that being said, let's begin. About 3 weeks ago, I decided to clean out my apartment because it was getting a bit too messy, and to my surprise, I found my old DS. I was so happy to have finally found it and decided to turn it on and see if it still worked, and it did. So naturally, I tried to look for more games. I only found New Super Mario Bros. And Mario Kart DS. I remembered how much I used to love Animal Crossing Wild World for the Nintendo DS when I was younger, so I decided to go to the local game store to find myself a copy. Obviously they wouldn't have any new copies, so I was looking for a pre-owned copy, but unfortunately they had none. They only had Animal Crossing on the Wii, but I heard that version of Animal Crossing was a bit shitty, so I still held out my hopes for finding a copy of the DS version. On my way home, I noticed that the local Blockbuster was closing down, so I thought I would check in there to see if they had a copy, and if they did, it would certainly be cheaper, as they were closing down. As I approached the store, I realized that it was closed, so I started to head back to my car. Just as I was about to open my car door, I heard a bang coming from the store's window. I looked around and the store manager was standing there in the window, waving his hand at me, asking me to come back. As I walked back, he opened the door especially for me. I asked him if he had any copies of it, and he said yes, we only have one though, and it's in pretty bad condition, and I said I would take it. As he went into the storeroom in the back to get the game for me, I realized a few strange things in the corner. The walls were painted white, but they had mysterious yellow stains all over them, and parts of the carpets were ripped up, and the store was just in plain awful condition. The manager returned with my copy and said, I can't find the box, but is the game on its own okay for you? He said that would be, I said that'd be fine, and I took it, paying only 99 cents for it. When I sat in my car, I noticed the game cartridge had no sticker on the front and only had a taped piece of yellow paper over the front that bluntly said ACWW. I initially ignored it and drove home. When I got home, I immediately put the cartridge into my DS and started playing, but when the menu started, I noticed that the music that usually plays in the menu was getting slower and slower and slower, eventually stopping. I ignored it and assumed it was a glitch and started to play. I made a new resident thinking that there was no saved game on the cartridge and started playing. The game ran very well, and I had no problems with it on day 1. On day 2, as I started the game, desperately wanting to know what Tom Nook had in his store today, in the character selection screen in the bedroom, my player was sleeping in the first bed, while another player was sleeping in the second bed. And I hadn't made a new character. This character was a girl. And I started to play the game as her. Then the game froze as I left the house. Assuming it was my DS, I restarted the game and started to play as her again. Everything seemed normal, except the sea. It was a deadly red color, almost resembling blood. And there was no sign of any residence, or any house for that matter, and the only other people in the game were Tom Nook and Booker from the town gate. Tom Nook's eyes were very red, and his eyeballs had turned black. This really creeped me out. Also in his store, Nook's Cranny, there were yellow stains on the wall. Along this, the floorboards ripped up, strangely similar to the appearance of the Blockbuster store. I quit the game and started it back up again so I could delete the mystery character and carry on with my own character. The menu music was still getting slower, as it was on day 1, but this time it had a creepy undertone to it, kind of like laughing. But I ignored this and carried on, and tried to delete the mysterious girl character. A text box appeared and said, "Are you sure you want to delete blank?" It was as if the girl didn't have a name, but anyways, I clicked yes and it said, "Are you sure? Once you delete blank, you can never get blank back." And once again, I clicked yes. The game then reset. This was strange as it had done this before when I wanted to do something with this character. I went back into the game and repeated the same process apart from this time. A text box then came up and said, "That wouldn't be wise." Why is the game stopping me from deleting that character, and even playing as that character? I was too creeped out to play, so I put the DS down and instead played Mario Kart. I hesitated to play the game at first, but then curiosity got the best of me, and I picked up my DS and booted up Animal Crossing, but this time there was no menu music at all. It was creepily silent. When I pressed play, I heard an evil laugh, but very high-pitched and very loud. It was as if it were there as some kind of jump scare. Anyway, I arrived at the character select screen and tried to delete the mystery girl, but once again it gave me an error message, but this time it read stop, all caps. This freaked me out, but I thought I may as well start playing with my character because nothing had gone wrong there, and sure enough, my character was fully playable, blue sea, all characters, houses where they should be, and yet I couldn't stop thinking about that mystery character. Who was it? Can it ever be deleted? I started to do some research, but I found nothing. Once again, I booted the game up to attempt to delete her, but this time she wasn't breathing. My character was beside her, sleeping, breathing as normal, but she was there, lifeless, motionless, not even breathing. I thought this would be a good time to try to delete her, and for some reason it worked. The mystery girl had been deleted. My mind was finally at ease, and I carried on playing as normal, but noticed I had gained an extra 3,000 bells. I thought nothing of it, and carried on as normal. As I booted up the game, the main menu was different, creepier. It showed one of my residents. It was a white tiger, but I cannot recall the name. He was getting closer to the screen with a big grin and huge eyes. The music was running backwards, and when I started the game, the same laugh was heard, low pitch, and was longer, and seemed like it had been slowed down. The girl was back, but seeing as I deleted her before, I thought I could delete her again, so I tried, and I was greeted with stop again. But me being the persistent bastard I am, I tried again. It said, "Are you sure you want to delete Anna?" So that was her name. I finally found out her name, Anna. I clicked yes, and it said, "Are you sure? Once you delete Anna, you can never get Anna back," which was an obvious lie, seeing as she kept coming back. But anyway, I went with it, and she was deleted, hopefully for good. I booted up my character, and strange things started to happen. The sea was blood red, all my residents were there, and there were no houses and no trees. All the flowers had turned black, and the grass had turned a darkish purple color. Whenever I tried to speak to Tom Nook, or anyone else in my town, they'd say something along the lines of, "You think she's gone? She will never go. And why delete her? She hasn't done anything to hurt you." Or, "Why? She was my friend. Why?" That was strange, in two ways. One, because it's a fucking weird thing for a game to do, mention characters that have been deleted, and especially in a kid's game for fuck's sake. And two, there were no residents in her game save, so how did they know about her? I was getting pretty fucking scared at this point, so I put my DS down for the day. I really didn't want to carry on with this game, but I did. It's a strange feeling. I wanted to know what would happen, but at the same time I was scared of what might happen. It's a kid game. It's a kid's game for fuck's sake. I need to pull myself together. I was having less and less sleep. The thought of the game being haunted was stupid, but it seemed to be the only reasonable answer. I started to do more research now that I knew about Anna, and I came across a similar story of a guy. He had a haunted N64 cartridge of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and they're pretty similar stories, except his game save is of a boy named Ben who took over his computer. I do have some gameplay footage, but I won't be uploading it in case something happens, because Ben sounds creepy as fuck. But anyways, I started the game up, and the menu was just black, with the reversing menu music. It was getting creepier every day. I started the game, no girl save, but my save was still there. Some strange things were there, red sea, no houses, no trees, purple grass, black flowers, you know the rest. But in the distance, I could see what looked like Anna. But the figure kept running away from me. She eventually started coming towards me and said, "How can you delete that which is undeletable?" And I was thinking, is undeletable even a word? And then a text box appeared saying, yes, it is a word. It was like she could hear my thoughts, so I started thinking of questions in my head to see if she could answer one, and luckily she answered two. One question was, "What are you doing in my game?" And she replied, "I used to own this until the accident. You aren't the rightful owner. Return it." And the other question was, "What can I do to get you to leave me alone?" And she answered, "To get me to go away, you must return me, but I will never leave you." Straight away I ejected the game, and went to return it to that Blockbuster. The door was closed again, and no store manager to let me in this time. Should I have broken it? Perhaps, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Another sleepless night, just waiting for the time that Blockbuster store could be open. I went there straight away, and fortunately nobody was there and it was closed again. Maybe it wasn't the answer. I turned the game back on and there was no menu music, just a black screen with the game options. At least there was no music. The Anna save was back again. But her player model wasn't sleeping in her bed. It stood next to my player's bed, watching over him while he slept. I clicked on her to boot up her save file, and see if she could answer more questions. I thought, "Where do I return you?" And she said in the text box, "To my grave." How was I supposed to know where her grave was? I asked her for the last time, and she replied, "Johnson." I googled Anna Johnson and found a story of a girl whose house had been robbed by armed robbers, and they shot her for not giving her over her DS. That must be it. That is why she is haunting my game. I have to return the game to her grave to get her to go away. That's the answer. I slept like a fucking baby. I was so happy I found out what's going on. I went to the girl's grave to return the game, and felt so proud of myself. As soon as I got home, I felt I deserved a rest and plopped in Mario Kart DS, and to my surprise, Anna was a playable character in Mario Kart. What had I done wrong? She was an Animal Crossing character. She didn't belong in Mario Kart. I asked her what she was doing, and she said this: "I'm here to thank you for what you've done, and I'm here to say sorry for what I've done to you over the past few days. I can now pass on peacefully, knowing that game is where it should be. It was my prized possession, and it meant the world to me. I might mean nothing to you, but now it is where it should be. Thank you." And with that, I closed my DS, packed it away, and vowed I would never touch an Animal Crossing game again. I will never leave you. Alright, so how was that? Now, as far as cliches go, it got kind of close to face-caving territory. I mean, as far as gratuitous gore went, I didn't see anything. The Sea of Blood sort of reminded me of Pokemon Dead Channel, and, well, it sort of struck me as I was reading this, it was kind of unexpected. And my face almost met my palm, but it didn't really ruin the experience as far as I'm making it out to be. Now, the tale is obviously similar to Ben Majora's Mask, hell, even referencing it at one point. And it wasn't bad, to be honest. It took place over the course of days, which I liked, the game getting more and more darker as each day passed. The character Anna was interesting, and I honestly wondered what would happen next with her. I thought maybe this creepypasta might have just taken the usual path and have her kill everyone brutally, then escape the game and brutally kill the player and run off into the forest for the lulz. But I'm glad that was not the case. Her being, I guess, a self-aware artificial intelligence or spirit in this game, could be either. It was a little bit of a stretch, but it's definitely far more creepier than just having her as a deranged, senseless killer. In fact, it reminded me of the Game That Listens as well. Now, the tale was lengthy, and I love that it took place over the course of several days, building up the game as it went on. Now, if you're wondering about Anna Johnson, I actually googled this as well, but I found nothing, so fortunately an event like this hasn't happened. Now, if you know more about this, then please tell me in the comments below. Now, this creepypasta has some somewhat unique moments with the talking telepathically to Anna, and it was creepy. It was somewhat unique. It was creepy, but it did have its shortcomings. This creepypasta had some shortcomings. I mean, it wasn't really scary like a creepypasta should be, but it wasn't that bad. It was a little, above first grade. The Anna plotline could have been fleshed out further. Maybe she could keep infecting more and more things as each day passed, in the player's home. And it was sort of hinted at the end with the Mario Kart, she would infect that game as well, and because of the vague ending, this could have a sequel with Anna. And if that's the case, then I think it could be quite good, provided that some refining to this formula is done, and the Anna character and the plotline would be more fleshed out. But really, this is all I have to say. It has its cliches, which definitely did stick out. It had a nice story with Anna, but ultimately it kind of fell flat. It didn't feel like it was used to its full potential, in my opinion. That being said, though, it was done quite well. It had a lot of similarities to far more bigger creepypastas and at times blatantly referenced them, but that didn't really take away the experience to me either. Stood out, but it really didn't kill the experience. And it's all that really needs to be said about this creepypasta. It's good. It's definitely better than some of the other ones we've did, but it's not exactly, up there with the best ones, but it is definitely, done quite well. It's just not really good, but it's not really bad. So that's really all I have to say about this. What would you rate this creepypasta, and what would you change to make it better? If you're wondering about this game I'm playing on the screen, it's Metro Last Light. Amazing game. You should definitely go check it out. This has been another episode of Haunted Gaming, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.